You're ruling all 4 deaths homicides?
Yes.
Okay. And can you give us a manner of death? Yeah.
I believe that the press release was that they were from a sharp object. So
stabbings.
Yeah, we'll know more after the autopsies tomorrow.
And do you believe these could be like a murder-suicide or?
No, they're 4 homicides.
4 homicides. Okay. And when it comes to doing the investigation post-autopsy, that falls on you, correct?
Yes. It's my job to determine the manner and mechanism of death.
And then I know with toxicology results, there can often be, at least in Washington, a delay. So do you have any idea how long it could take, if those were relevant, to get any type of results back on that?
Well, the toxicology reports, right, they usually take 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer. But they might, I don't think they're going to be relevant in the actual manner or cause of death.
We have a dilemma. We have a conflict with 1:19 a.m. state of Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin, which we all heard with our own ears. The dilemma that we have is not about the level of amphetamine that was measured in each, Xana and Ethan post-mortem, nor is our dilemma over the blood alcohol content during an autopsy that was allegedly conducted in them 3 days and then some after their deaths. The autopsy information that I have in front of me informs me that Ethan Chapin's alcohol level was measured at 0.122. Xana Kernodle post-mortem had a blood alcohol content level of 0.229. One can assume that this measurement was taken on the date recorded on the autopsy report. Based on the information submitted from the autopsy, Xana had a higher level of alcohol level than did Ethan. What does this mean? Well, if Xana was alive with a blood alcohol content level of 0.229, she'd be considered dazed and confused. Ethan, on the other hand, with his blood alcohol content level of 0.122, would be considered drunk, with impaired judgment and perception. Xana and Ethan also had, post-mortem, a level of amphetamine which showed up in their autopsy reports. Then we have the amphetamine levels recorded in the reports. Although Xana had a higher level of alcohol than Ethan did, Ethan, 3 days plus deceased, had a much higher measurement of amphetamine in his tissue at the time of autopsy, which was 8 in the morning on the 16th of November, well over 72 hours after he died. During Xana's autopsy, conducted at 11:15 in the morning, 3 hours after Ethan's, revealed a much lower level of amphetamine. We are not yet at our dilemma. Thank you for your patience. Before we get to our problem with Xana Kernodle, we must consider the following. 1. The way that amphetamines, or in this case, Adderall, interacts with the alcohol. 2. The effect of death on the body's level of alcohol. And 3. The body's amphetamine level and what it does upon death. Let's briefly focus our attention on how the body responds when an ingestion of Adderall is chased with alcohol. We will be back in a moment.
Adderall and alcohol, how do they interact? Did you know that in 2021, there were over 41 million prescriptions for Adderall dispensed in the US alone? This is a shocking number, but beyond these numbers lies a hidden danger: the risky interaction between Adderall and alcohol. Combining these substances can lead to heart failure, overdose, and a host of other serious health issues. There's growing concern, especially among college students, where the misuse of Adderall and the culture of drinking often collide. Here's another data point for you. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's, 3.7% of full-time college students have engaged in non-medical prescription drug use in the past month, often alongside alcohol. This dangerous mix can mask the effects of intoxication, leading to deceptive levels of sobriety and a perilous path of overconsumption. In short, Adderall and alcohol are a dangerous combination. But before we dive into the dangers, let's talk about what Adderall is and how it's commonly misused. What is Adderall and how is it used? Adderall, a combination of amphetamine and dextromethorphan, is a central nervous system stimulant prescribed to treat ADHD and narcolepsy. Its misuse, however, is on the rise. Adderall has become popular among older teens and young adults who use it to increase focus and energy levels during exam days or all-night study sessions. It's also a common feature at parties, where it's used to prevent blackouts and maintain energy. But this comes with significant risks. The drug can cause fatal heart attacks and strokes, especially in those with an undiagnosed heart condition or family history of abnormal heart rhythms. Adderall can also exacerbate symptoms in people with psychotic disorders or bipolar illness when mixed with alcohol. The deceptive nature of Adderall as a party drug is that while it creates a surge of energy and euphoria, it can also lead to dangerous behaviors and health consequences. The dangers of mixing Adderall with alcohol. Mixing Adderall with alcohol can be a dangerous cocktail. Alcohol is a depressant, while Adderall is a stimulant, and this combination can lead to serious heart issues, dehydration, overheating, kidney failure, and even alcohol poisoning.
Welcome back. What happens to the blood alcohol content or concentration level when the body has been deceased for 3 or more days? In a living person, this cycle of absorption and elimination is dynamic. At the moment of death, however, these processes stop. The body's physiological and metabolic functions cease, so there is no further absorption or metabolism of alcohol. The intestines no longer push any residual alcohol into the bloodstream, and the liver can no longer break down what is already circulating. After 72 hours, the blood alcohol concentration in a deceased person is, for the most part, unreliable, and can change significantly from its level at the time of death. Many different factors may contribute to an unreliable blood alcohol concentration measurement. Upon dying, both the blood alcohol content and the level of amphetamine in one's body will not remain static or frozen. In other words, if you die with a blood alcohol content of 0.15 at the actual time of death, more than likely the BAC level will not remain at 0.15 72 hours later. The same can be said for a level of amphetamine in the body tissue at the actual time of death, with one key difference. The alcohol level can amplify, while the level of amphetamine will more than likely decrease. Ethan allegedly had a rather high level of amphetamine in his measured sample after 3 days deceased. We will return to the Adderall in a moment. Why should we ignore the alcohol? Well, for one, this is what the Moscow police were doing all along. But, moving on. After 72 hours, or 3 days of the postmortem state accompanied by putrefaction, the blood alcohol concentration becomes highly unreliable due to significant postmortem ethanol production and redistribution. Keep our victims in mind when considering the following. The body of a person who dies at a young age putrefies faster than the person who dies at an older age. Also, the injuries on a body before death or during postmortem are more prone to microbial activity, such as bacterial invasion, which would most likely accelerate the putrefaction process. Factors such as redistribution of alcohol and postmortem ethanol production, laboratory processing, and even microbial activity can also alter the legitimacy of an alcohol concentration measurement, making it appear higher or lower than it actually was when the person was last alive, making post-mortem blood samples look as if they have a higher or lower concentration than they actually have. An unreliable blood sample taken post-mortem may also occur when the sample is taken after undue delay. Without more information, any and all blood concentration levels recorded are subject to further questioning and therefore not to be taken as gospel. Before we get to the good stuff, let us ask, what happens to the level of amphetamine in the body after it has been dead for 72 hours? The literature addresses the level of Adderall both post-administratively and post-mortem. Apparently, 72 hours after taking Adderall, the level of the medication will decrease since Adderall has a half-life of between 9 and 14 hours if use is discontinued. However, after death, substances such as Adderall will move from areas of high concentration, such as the liver, lungs, or heart, into blood and other body fluids. It is noted in the research that post-mortem redistribution of amphetamine is rather limited compared to the post-mortem redistribution of alcohol in the body. According to Al-Azmari et al., amphetamines are more prone to physical redistribution from tissues, such as the liver or lung, into the bloodstream, whereas alcohol is more prone to concentration changes due to diffusion and post-mortem production. Now, are we to disregard both alcohol and amphetamine level as having roles in the deaths, or both Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin? Certainly not. Then we must also take into consideration all that was heard at 1:19 to 1:21 in the morning on Sunday, November 13th, 2022. This is the substance of Scenario 1, unintentional deaths by substance use. We must also take into consideration all of the indicators that have fallen to our attention referencing use of substances and/or substances, along with mass amounts of alcohol consumed on the morning of Saturday, November 12th into the 13th. In a moment, we will share references from others that support Scenario number 1.
Entonces, tu sonido no es una canción.
No, es un sonido. Es difícil de explicar.
¿Y dónde lo escuchaste?
En un cuarto. Es como una bola enorme de concreto que cae en un fondo de metal, rodeada de agua de mar. De pronto es imposible.
No. De hecho, después de hablar con Juan, yo preparé unos sonidos.
¿De verdad?
Sí. ¿Qué tan grande es la bola de concreto? How big?
Bang! And then it shrinks. I mean, it probably sounds differently in my head.
What makes victims Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle different from victims Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen? Now, help me out here. We heard Xana's name, and Ethan's name being called to, even shouted at when the time was approximately 1:20, the morning of November 13th of 2022. That which we heard could have very well led some to suspect that both Ethan and Xana had fallen to a deadly combination of Adderall and alcohol, We heard a male say something to the effect of, "Check his pulse," at 3:42 and 50 seconds after midnight. This would tell us that Ethan Chapin was still alive at that time. Whether it was scenario 1 or scenario 2 that resulted in Ethan's 3:42 state, the following information supports the scenario number 1, based on what we heard on that fateful morning at approximately 1:19 to 1:20, when we heard a male yell, "Whoa, Ethan," followed by a female, yelling the name Zena. Zena.
It's important for us. I mean, the reason we've agreed to do this is there's some misinformation out there. And that's been hard for us. And that's why we, as a family, talked about it and agreed to do this, because the things that are being said are 100% not true. There's not drugs involved. There's not.
That Lake Talk County sheriff.
He-
It was
he-
your local sheriff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Karen and Scotty, Maddie's mom and dad, they were all the way down there. So we were talking with them, and are you guys there yet? Da da da. And they were like, no. Have you guys heard anything?
Karen was, she had just seen that there was an unconscious person on the news and at the kids' house. And so she was like, I'm going down to get the girls. And they're not answering their phones. She just figured they were caught up in whatever was going on. That's why they weren't answering. So they just headed down. And when I talked to her, she was 25 minutes out from Moscow. She's like, I'm getting ready to pick up the girls. And I did not have the heart to say, well, I was telling her, we've been told that it's Kaylee and that she was shot, and she's just like, I'm going, Chrissy, I'll be there soon. And we were just kind of frozen. We didn't really know what to do. And then the sheriff came and he said that it was a quadruple homicide. And
We brought up the shooting. We'd heard somebody said fentanyl and stuff. So
yeah, somebody said that they had OD'd.
And thank God he did that. I'm so glad that I guess so many people who just won't be honest with us, but he was like, no, Mr. Gonzalez, that's not true. This was a homicide. Somebody killed. So we knew right off the bat. So then we could stop the rumors right then and there, try to do the right thing. But yeah, my son had already heard that it was a fentanyl OD. And, he's still going to college down there.
We were like, that's insane. Like, there's no way, And then we had heard they were shot, and then we heard that they, it was an OD. We were just like, no. He said, no, it was a homicide. And I said, a homicide? I said, they were murdered? And he said, yes.
Have you ever heard the name I know his last name.
Okay. His name just came up, so I'm not even sure if he's involved. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember who told it to me now.
What do you know about? What do you know?
All I know is that he's super nice. He was friends with and all of them. And he had a long-time girlfriend, but then they broke up recently. That's all I know.
And yeah, the I'm referring to was it?
Okay, that might be the same one then.
Okay. So the nice guy though?
Mm-hmm. I've never like really had like a conversation with him.
Okay.
He was always nice whenever
So I'm going to ask a point blank question with, does he sell drugs of any kind?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So we have also had, I mean, what do you assume? People are talking, people are giving us all kinds of information. One thing that I picked up from one of the interviews I did was rumors of potential drug use with Ethan and Xena, especially when they drank.
I believe they took Adderall.
Was it Adderall?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's it, from my knowledge.
And how did you hear that?
Well,
Have you ever witnessed
that
them
night
get
I saw them take it, yeah.
So you saw them, how were they taking it?
Ethan, I think, just swallowed the pill, and I think Xana snorted it.
And where was that at?
In Xana's room.
Okay. That actually fits then what we found. Thank you. That's actually good for us. We're just trying to figure out different things that we found, so. Did someone have a prescription for Adderall?
I don't know who they got it from, but no, neither of them did.
Okay. Did anyone else in the house use drugs at all? Especially party drugs?
I think Kaylee sometimes took an Adderall, but other than that, I don't think so.
And was it Adderall or something?
All I know is that it was Adderall, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Hung out with Kaylee a lot?
Yeah.
Okay. And now Kaylee, she was, correct? She was a part of it?
Yeah, but
Okay.
Her best friend Maddie was, and they've been friends for years. So
Okay.
She just kind of
So Kaylee was, and then Maddie was, and then Xana was, okay, so, and then Ethan was, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, the place that they lived at was like, it's considered like a out of house. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So other than those people that they hung out with, do you know, was she ever involved in like doing any illegal substances, like anything that you can think of?
I would probably say just coke probably, but I can't think of like her doing anything else.
Have you actually seen her or heard of her doing that before?
No, but I knew that Xana and yeah, Xana was pretty into it.
Okay.
I would say.
Did you have any follow-up questions on
So Xana was in coke.
Yeah.
What about Ethan?
I'm not sure about Ethan. I don't know her boyfriend that well.
And these questions, we're not trying to
No, you're totally
make
fine.
anyone feel bad. We're just trying to, there's
Yeah.
several avenues. Do you know at that house if they were selling drugs, if there was a lot of people that were selling drugs, or was it just kind of you go to a party and you use kind of thing?
I think it was more of like they would like go out and they would do coke, but they weren't selling.
Okay, so at their residence, it wasn't known as a drug house or anything
No.
like that? They wouldn't keep any quantities of Coke or Xanax, Adderall, anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Medication like stimulants, vitamin C is like the off switch.
Do you think that vitamin C can turn off your ADHD medication if you accidentally take too much? Here we go again with medical misinformation. Again, this can and does kill people. This person says that by taking vitamin C, it makes your urine more acidic, which helps you clear stimulants faster. Now, it is true that having slightly more acidic urine will help you to clear things like amphetamines from your system faster, but that's over the course of like hours, maybe even days. I'd hardly call that an off switch. Here's the thing, vitamin C doesn't automatically stop medication from working or undo its side effects. The meds are already active in your brain, affecting dopamine and focus. By the time you feel like you've taken too much, it's too late. Vitamin C is not going to help you. Even if you take slow release medication, you can feel it ramping up. Maybe the vitamin C will help slightly, but again, you're not going to see much benefit unless it's like the next day. If you ever take too much or feel weird from your meds, vitamin C isn't going to fix that. You need to get medical help right away. Sure, doctors recommend you take vitamin C and your ADHD meds at different times to avoid absorption issues, but vitamin C should never be used to treat overdose or side effects. My name is Jackie, I'm a neuroscientist. Follow me for more myth-busting videos, but also share this with somebody you know takes stimulants. It might save their life.
This is something that's going to take you guys some time, okay? It's okay to go through the emotions. If you need anything, call us, okay? We can either get you in touch with resources, we can talk to you ourselves.
Yeah.
This is something that's going to take some time for people to work through, okay? So just understand that the emotions you guys are feeling it's just what human beings go through, unfortunately. And you guys should never have been put in this position. So
Four this morning?
Yes, it was 4:10.
You first noticed a guy.
Well, I first noticed Kaylee go upstairs and scream and run downstairs.
So 4 this morning, went upstairs
Yeah.
to the way top.
Yes, to her room with Murphy the dog.
Okay.
And then
And you heard Kaylee scream?
I heard her scream and run as fast as she could downstairs, and she said someone's here.
She ran downstairs?
Yes, I could hear it. You can hear everything pretty much. I heard her run downstairs really fast. And then I heard Murphy barking a lot.
Did you hear Murphy barking or doing anything?
Yes, he was barking a lot.
Throughout the night, or?
When I heard Kaylee go upstairs, he was barking a lot, and then I could tell that he was outside. I don't know how the police found him because he wasn't in the house.
Okay.
But he has a puppy, he barks, but he was barking a lot if there was someone there.
And that was at 1:32, or was that around
Like
4?
4.
Who would require accidental death by substance to be covered up by the monstrosity of applied carnage? Moreover, why? Did Xana and Ethan die as a result of mixing alcohol with Adderall? This is what Scenario 1 implies. We heard what we heard, didn't we? Where did Xana and Ethan get it from? Weren't they both underaged drinkers? Who provided the alcohol that they had all day and night? Did Kaylee Gonsalves provide either of it? Why are police asking questions about Kaylee and substances? Why do we hear only one voice of 4 suffering? Keep this premise in mind and do not let it go as you watch, think, and listen for that big reveal, knowing that it will soon day make perfect, undeniable sense, as it very well should.